Just out walking around the parking lot. It's windy out there. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. I fell for you like a child. Oh, but the fire went wild. I fell in the burning fire. A couple of months ago, checked into a hotel. There's a Bible beside the bed. I opened it up. There's a message inside that said, "If you are an alcoholic, if you think you have a drinking problem, please call this number." I called it. It was a liquor store. Let it out, folks. Doesn't get any better. My grandpa used to say, "Listen, if we all like the same things, everybody'd be after your grandma." Grandpa used to say some weird things. One time I said, "Grandpa, what's the quickest way to get to the lake?" He said, "You walking or driving?" I said, "I'm driving." He said, "That's the quickest." I make fun of Grandpa. Actually, he was pretty successful. He was a veterinarian and a taxidermist. I remember the sign said, "No matter what happens, you'll get your dog back." You guys are great. Want to go to Denny's later? Took Grandpa to Denny's one time. The coffee was cold, the eggs were runny, hash browns were soggy, the toast was burned. As we were leaving, Grandpa turned to the cashier and he said, "My compliments to the photographer." Grandpa really hated Grandma's cooking. He said, "I got so bad there for a while, all the flies chipped in and got the screen door fixed." You guys been drinking? I used to drink and drive. That's not as popular as it used to be. Last time I got stopped, the highway patrolman said, "You were going 90 miles an hour." I said, "I haven't been out an hour." He said, "Can I see your license?" I said, "Can I shoot your gun?" Don't ever say that, no. He said, "All right, I want to see your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance." Must have gone to that glove compartment for 20 minutes. But I realized I was sitting in the front seat of his car. My grandmother was really something. One time I said, "Grandma, have you seen a little pill bottle lying around here, and on the label in big letters it says LSD? And she said, "Well, no, I haven't." And then she said, "Did you see that dragon in the kitchen?" I asked Grandpa once if he was very political. He said, "No." He said, "All politicians should serve just 2 terms. One in office and one in prison." Wow, a political audience. All right. Something from a Walt Disney film with political overtones. Super frantic, unproductive, nothing legislation. Want to change your congressman, provide some lubrication. CEOs cannot complain of over-regulation. Voters get what you deserve, great procrastination. With super PACs of unproductive, nothing legislation. That's it. So this senator visits an Indian reservation. He goes right to the chief. He says, "You got any problems here?" The chief said, "We got 3. Senator said, "What's your first problem?" The chief said, "Well, we got this mine up here. The tailings have come down. They poisoned our water. We had to truck in water for 2 years. Really expensive." The senator whips out his smartphone, walks off, yells at it for a couple minutes, comes back, puts his phone away, and says, "By the end of next week, you're going to start having 5 wells drilled, and we're going to pay you back for all the water you brought in. What's your next problem?" The chief said, "Well, we got this medical facility. We don't have any doctors." Senator whips out his smartphone, walks off, yells at it for a couple minutes, comes back, puts his phone away, and says, "By the end of the week, you're going to have 2 doctors. By the end of the month, you're going to have a fully staffed medical facility." He said, "What's your third problem?" Chief said, "No cell service." been married for 65 years. They fought every day of their lives. Harriet passes away. She's standing at the gates of heaven. Peter said, Harriet, it's nice to see you. Is there one thing you have to do before you come in? She said, what's that? He said, you have to spell the word. She said, what is it? He said, love. She says, L-O-V-E. He says, come on in, Harriet. Harriet steps through the gate. St. Peter said, Harriet, I've been standing here all day. I really need to go to the restroom. You watch the gates? She said, I just got here. He said, you know what to do. St. Peter walks away. Harriet turns around, and there's Harvey. Harvey, what are you doing here? Harvey said, Harriet, I felt so bad after the services today. Just went home, laid down, and died. I said, well, Harvey, only one thing you have to do before you come in. He said, what's that? She said, you have to spell the word. He said, what is it? She said, Czechoslovakia. Oh, you like senior stuff, all right. Here's a word about Folgers coffee for senior citizens. The best part of waking up is just waking up. Old guy's walking down the hall in this retirement home. He sees this door open. He walks in. There's this old lady standing there. He walks up. He says, "Bet you can't guess how old I am." She says, "I bet you I can. Drop your pants." He drops his pants. She says, "You're 96." He said, "Gee, you're right. How did you know?" She said, "You told me at breakfast this morning." So this 60-year-old couple are celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. They're walking along a beach, and this genie appears. He says, "I'm going to give you each one wish for your anniversary." He takes the wife to the side. He says, "What's your wish?" She says, "I've always kind of wanted to travel the world for a couple of years." Just like that, fistful of airline tickets, helicopter arrives, takes her out to a cruise ship. Genie turns to the husband and says, "What about you?" The husband said, "I've always kind of wanted a wife 30 years younger than me." And just like that, he was 90. You guys want to do a sing-along? All right, you do the words. Taco Bell tastes 3 times better. Everybody. Tastes just like a Chihuahua sweater. Oh, you like dog songs. How many kids do we have here tonight? We have any kids here? Over there? This is for you. After you hear this, this will be your favorite dog song ever. Ready? I want a pit bull. I want a pit bull. I want a pit bull. I want a fuzzy little puppy with an evil grin that'll tear that bone right out of your shin. I want a pit bull. I want a pit bull. I want a stocky little puppy that's always pissed that'll fetch that bone right out of your wrist. I want a pit bull. Well, that concludes the children's portion of my show. A couple of months ago, a girl rode by me on a bicycle. I yelled, "Cow!" She turned around and flipped me off. Then she hit the cow. Well, you guys are great. See what's going on in the news. Nationwide SPCA clinic, dogs and cats spayed and neutered $4, senior citizens $2.75. Marie Osmond fired as spokesperson for Nutrisystem after testing positive for Hidden Valley Ranch dressing and Krispy Kreme donuts. And finally, a recent study has found that women who carry a little extra weight around seem to live a whole lot longer than the guys that bring it up. Is this on? Oh, check 1, 2. The guy calls up his boss and says, "I'm sick." His boss says, "What's wrong?" The guy says, "I have anal glaucoma." His boss says, "What's that?" The guy says, "You really can't see my ass coming into work today." Oh boy, should open with that one, huh? 90-year-old Harriet calls 92-year-old Harvey. Says, "Harvey, you driving on Interstate 90? He said, "Yep." He said, "For God's sakes, be careful. There's some idiot out there in a car driving the wrong way." Harvey said, "One guy, hell, there's hundreds." I shouldn't make fun of older people. I'm sort of a senior person myself. A lot of people don't think I'm as old as I am until they hear me getting up. Or standing up or whatever it is. Something like that. I should never try a new one. Guy decides he wants to be a monk. He goes to the monastery and signs up. After he signs up, he finds out he has to take a vow of silence. He's only allowed 2 words every 10 years. He can't believe it. 10 years go by, he walks in, the head monk looks up, the guy says, "Food cold." He's dismissed. 10 more years go by, he walks in, the head monk looks up, the guy says, "Bed hard." That's here for 20 years. After 30 years, he's had it. He walks in, the head monk looks up, the guy says, "I quit." Head monk says, "It doesn't surprise me, you've been bitching ever since you got here." A couple of months ago, my wife said, "How come you're not wearing your wedding ring?" I said, "It's been cutting off my circulation." She said, "It's supposed to." Oh, geez, circulation, that reminds me, it's another word. About two or 3 weeks ago, I was working an outdoor show in Florida, and it was really a big deal. And just about 5 minutes before I went on, I started thinking about something, why I was thinking about this. God, I was thinking about circumcision. I was circumcised on the day I was born. I couldn't walk for a year. I couldn't. My name is Gary Mule Deer. It's not my real name, but I changed it. My real name's Elizabeth Mule Deer. Remember one time when I was in Sunday school, I was trying to look up this little girl's dress, and the teacher caught me. She said, "Gary, would Jesus do something like that?" I said, "Well, no, he'd probably just create a big wind and blow the whole thing off." You guys want to see me on my own television show this coming fall on CBS, Friday nights at 8:30, write him a letter. A couple of months ago, there was a knock at the door. I answered it. It was 2 Jehovah's Witnesses. I invited them in. We sat down on the couch. I said, "Well, what do you want to talk about?" They said, "We don't know. We've never made it this far." You guys have been great.